What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Pod Scum. I'm your host, your bastard of ceremonies, Reckless Rex Ruger. That, of course, if you couldn't tell by the enormous chompers, is the Freddie Mercury puppet. We got another great one. This, of course, is where the cool kids come to chop it up with your boy, Rex Ruger. And our guest is here. We're getting down to business immediately. Jason.
Howdy.
How's it going, bud?
Good. How are you?
Awesome, man. So, man, first of all, man, I gotta say, man, the Category 7 album, fucking awesome, man. But one detestable thing, though, man, I hate seeing the supergroup label. But it is a supergroup.
So do I, to be quite honest with you. I just, to be honest with you, I think that's just the way the press is gonna label something like that. I mean, that's not really what it is. It's a bunch of old fucking guys who've been playing metal for a long fucking time. and some
guys.
I'm 54. It's not like we're a bunch of spring chickens anymore. So
yeah, I'm 51. I feel it every day too, in some way, shape, or form. But I'll tell you what, though, and I've said this before, from going to see the Bay Area Strikes Back tour a couple years ago and seeing Testament and Exodus and Death Angel and seeing all the bands that are out there, man, the as you put it, old guys are still out playing guys half their age, though, man. So I mean, the metal guys find a way to stay young.
We don't party anymore. That's why. That's the only way we can do it. Something's got to go. The young kids can still party, but us, the only way that we can give them a run for the money is, going to bed after the show with a protein shake.
But for fans that don't know the story, though, how do all you guys, who have been doing this for a long time and have established yourselves in the fabric of the metal community, how do all you guys come together? What's the impetus? Who makes the first call? How do you guys get John Bush, Phil Demmel, Mike Orlando, Jack Gibson, and you? How do you guys get together?
If I'm being frank, the impetus for me was my dissatisfaction with my role in Overkill.
Okay.
I hadn't been happy in the band for like 2 fucking years. It wasn't like a surprise that I quit. I've been dissatisfied for a long time, but I'm a team player. I don't like to leave things. I love the guys personally, so I just kind of hung in there, but I was not happy where I was career-wise, let's say, within the confines of that band. Wasn't a band member, and that's the main thing for me to keep doing this at this point in my lifetime. That's why for Shadows Fall to be back together, I'm 20% owner member. I'm involved in the decisions. I just don't get told what's happening. I hate that. I'm a Capricorn. I can't deal with that shit. And for my whole career, for the most part, even like back to the early days, all the bands, like either I formed or I was instrumental in getting the guys together, or it was always just a one for all for one thing. Overkill was the only band I've ever played in where I was a hired gun. The only exception was Anthrax, but I was only a touring member with Anthrax, and with Prong, only touring. That's a totally different animal than being in, quote unquote, in the band. So even when I was in Flotsam, I was a 20% member owner. I was involved in the decisions. So 7.5 years of that was a long time for me. And I'm not saying anything, I know Blabbermouth's going to take this and run the wrong way with what I'm trying to talk about. My point is I love the guys. I was a team player. I wasn't leaving, but I was dissatisfied and I was looking for something else. There was a point in time with Overkill where I've like my whole career, my ear is always to the grindstone, and I'm always just in the mix to know what's going on. Like, oh, hey, someone's looking for something. Not that I want to be a ship jumper or anything, but I've had a lot of downtime on my hands in the last number of years. So anything I can play with, be a part of, I'm gung-ho to do. But for a while with Overkill, I wasn't like that anymore. I'm like, all right, this is cool. I'm, not looking for anything else. But after a while, I was like, all right, I need another outlet. So Phil and I go way back. you know, he had just joined Machine Head when Shadows Fall was starting to come up, and we had toured together. And from the moment that I met him, I just, you know, we were always close friends, and I knew this was a guy that I want one day we're going to play together. Yeah, and it might take 2 decades, but one day we're going to play together. And just always a great dude, and someone that I liked being around, and just also an incredible musician. And also another cool thing is we were both nominated for a Grammy together, because the one year that Shadows Fall was nominated for one of ours, Machine Head was too, and we happened to be on tour together, so we got the news together. So it was like,
that's cool.
Know,
yeah,
it was
nice.
It was awesome. It was awesome. Like I don't remember what happened that night. Like, you know, let's just put it that way. Like I know that we drank a lot in the Machine Head dressing room that night because we were just happy for, you know, each other. So anyways, fast forward to sometime in the pandemic, because that's why Phil was here.
Right.
When they allowed shows to start happening again with Overkill, we didn't have everybody vaccinated in bands, so Phil came in to fill in. For a show at the Westcott Theater. And the night of the show, I happened to get a text from my very good friend Corey Pierce, the drummer for God Forbid. And he goes, "You better be coming to Dingbats tonight after the show, motherfucker, because I'm bartending." I'm like, oh, dude, first of all, you know I don't really drink anymore. So
yeah.
It's not really enticing. I'm going to drink 1-2 beers maybe anyways, and it's going to be over. I don't care if I have to pay for them, even if they're $10 a piece nowadays. But my point is, that's not really enticing. Hotel bed after the show, way more enticing than I'm bartending tonight.
Yeah, when you're north of 50, man, a good night's sleep is important.
And I know I've got to drive home the next morning too, because it was a local show for the Jersey guys, but I had to drive home 3 hours the next morning. Yeah. Even though my checkout wasn't until 11. Even by the time I get done with the show and get out of the shower, it's 12:30. So you know, so I get in the car to pick up Phil. Well, I pick up Phil at his room, and he gets in the car. He goes, "Hey, did Corey call you?" I go, "No, but he texted." And he goes, "Did he ask about going to Dingbats?" I go, "Yes." So now we're both on the hook, and we know that if we don't go, we're not going to hear the end of it from him anyways. Right. So, all right, we'll play the show. We'll go over, because he's got an early flight. He's got to get on a plane back to San Francisco the next day. So he's got it worse than me. So we end up going over there, and Phil goes, "Oh, Mike Orlando's going to meet us over there." I'm like, all right, sick. I haven't seen Mike in a while. So now we go. Now the two of us go to the bar. We meet Mike at the bar. And within, I don't know, like 45 minutes, you know, we had a couple drinks, and we just started bullshitting. And those two had been talking about putting a band together or just doing something. And I was like, "Hey, I'd be willing to do something with you guys if you guys want to do it." They're like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah." So we just said we were going to do something. It really wasn't, "Hey, let's start a band and go on tour and get us label and call it a supergroup." It was just like, "Hey, the three of us are going to write some music. Let's see what happens." The two guitar players.
But the seed was planted that night. That was really the first band meeting.
Yes, that was the seed was planted that night for sure. And that's why I even thank Corey in my liner notes on the album, because without them going to Dingbats that night, this band wouldn't have happened.
He pestered you right into a band. Pestered you right into coming to a bar and joining a band.
Right. So it's a perfect rock and roll story, except for there's no cocaine and there's no like chaos, and then we are in the limousine after. No, none of that happened.
It's certainly not going to make a good rock biography book.
Right. This is, if it was 1987 on the Sunset Strip, the story might be different, but it wasn't.
No debauchery.
Jersey had Dingbats. The only thing I can tell you, the debauchery was we closed the bar down at the end of the night. We actually locked the door with the guy who owned the place, but it wasn't because we stayed there partying. We just ended up leaving at 2 a.m.
Yeah. So keep it down, everybody. There's an important band meeting going on here.
Exactly. You guys shut up. We're discussing what we want to do here. So we knew that we weren't gonna, without pigeonholing what it was gonna be. We weren't going to call it a thrash band. We weren't going to call it this. We were just going to say it's going to be a heavy metal hard rock band What we wanted to do basically was just the vibe was, let's pick up where Van Halen and Pantera left off. That was the idea. Heavy shit that displays drums and guitars, not for the point of showboating, but musicality between the players, basically.
Yeah, oh, it has that. Yeah, definitely.
And just big choruses. So that was the impetus of it. So shortly after, Phil went on tour with Overkill. And at that point, he was on tour with me for a whole entire tour. So he knew what I was dealing with. He dealt with that himself, with his past issues or his past bands himself. So it was a very good confidant to have at that time, because it wasn't like, hey brother, I don't know what you're going through. I went through everything you're going through. Yeah. So by that point, we really started talking about it. We had and we even had some music that we put together, file sharing. We had like a song and a half together. We saw Mike again in New York, and at that point we had actually started having some ideas put together. So then we said, all right, well, we need to round out the camp. Who do we want? And there was a very short list of singers that we had. John was at the top. We had no idea if he'd even go for it. And Mike told me to call him. I go, you know what? I said, Phil knows him better than I do. I said, I know him, but Phil and him go way back more than we do. Let's let Phil do the initial asking. Yeah. So he did. And his first reaction was, send me some music. So we were like, all right, we're up and running. So let's put it this way. We never went down the list because we got the guy that we wanted first.
That's nice. That's nice.
So, and in reality, this is the way it went. Both of the guys that we brought up first said yes. So after we knew that John said he was interested, then we went after the bass player. So I contacted Jack, because we had already been discussing Jack, and see, let's ask Jack. Let's see if Jack might want to do this. Yeah. And I sent him a message. I was like, hey, bro, I said, quick question for you. You got any free time? Would you be interested in doing a little offshoot thing with me, Demo Orlando, and this guy named John Bush? And he just wrote back, absolutely, or something like that. No question. Yeah. So
that's a hard lineup to say no to.
Yeah, it just, like I said, and all of us, look, my personal reasons for wanting to do this were not the other guys. So it's only for me to say I needed another outlet. I needed something where I was a full member of and be a part of everything, which means to be a part of the losses as well. But I mean, I want to be a part of the gains, and when something is, when I've traveled for 36 hours and killed myself, that when I came home and went, well, at least it was worth it, because that was pretty worth it for that one show that we went and got paid for, rather than, well, I just fucking killed myself and came home with $500, or, something, where I'm going.
Now, obviously, you're saying that the split with Overkill was amicable. You still have a lot of fondness for the guys, but what was it specifically? And of course, I certainly respect whatever you're at liberties to say, but what would you have liked to gotten out of it more? Like, was it more like involvement in the creative process?
A little bit. A little bit for me, more so. It was definitely on the, just being paid fairly for my time. That's where I'm going to leave. That's
okay. Fair enough.
I have, like I said, I have nothing. There's no animosity. I just went and saw everybody last Friday.
Okay.
They just played in my backyard Friday night. I knocked on the bus. Blitz opened the door. Hey, you coming tonight? Yeah. All right, come on in. Gives me a big hug like I knew he would. I gave his girlfriend a hug. I said hello to the couple crew people that I knew. I went inside and gave everybody a hug. Dee came up, slaps me on the back. We're got nothing to do with our personal lives. It's just a business thing. And for me more so, I needed my time. I don't want it to make it, like for a while it was fine, but you know, I needed to make myself available for the bands that I'm a member of. That's really what it is.
Fair enough.
And I couldn't be tied to Overkill anymore to be their drummer and only their drummer, and this is the schedule for the year, and you have to work in whatever you do in this.
Yeah.
No,
It's a big
that's
Overkill's
not
a
going to
big
work
commitment.
for me.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And now Overkill's a big commitment. It is.
It was,
No doubt. Those guys put out a lot of
was-
music. They're very prolific. They're very consistent. They're always cranking out albums. They're always on the road a lot. I get it. It's a big commitment.
Yeah. I mean, there were times where and even if so, like, yes, granted. So, and I know that the people are already typing away. Yes, but Shadows Fall doesn't tour the way that Overkill did. Blah, 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 blah. Yes, true. Very true. But remember, I have another band, Category 7. Between the two, we'll be working just as much. But also the thing to keep in mind here too is I could play 5 shows with Shadows Fall and make more money than playing 30 with Overkill.
Yeah, that's right. We're New Yorkers. We know how to grind.
Yeah, but after a while, how much of the grinding do you want to do anymore? Like, Tim just quit Primus, and his whole reasoning behind quitting Primus, I've said a lot of what he said. The fire's not there anymore. I've had those days where, like, I love the drums, but there's some days where I just I got nothing today.
You don't want to look at a drum stick.
Yeah, you know? And I hate to feel like that, because the 8-year-old kid in me is like, dude, if I could tell you now the shitload of gear you're going to have in 40 years, you're going to love it. And now I'm just like, I got to clean that. That's in the way. I should sell that. And I you know, I got to remember to not be like that, and be very thankful for what I have. But anyways, it's just the whole.
So is being a band with these guys now, do you feel like it's reignited some type of a fire in you? I mean, it's hard to look around at this band you put together and not be fucking pretty excited about it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I know, and it's tough to even say this because, like, I'm going to say, well, I've done some of the best drumming I've done in a while on these last couple records that I just recorded. And then I see these 20-year-old kids that are playing like 2 times warp speed that I can play and all this crazy shit. And I'm like, do I even play the same instrument? And then like, I almost get like embarrassed. I'm like, I'm not putting any videos up. Like, no one, I can't play shit like that kid can. But like, you know, it's like, it's becoming like a competition. But anyways, this last record, this Category 7 record, is some of the best stuff I've ever done.
It's amazing. Yeah.
And I really, I say this all the time. I really approached this record to be more simplistic with the drums. I wanted to stick to more like Alex Van Halen, Vinnie Paul kind of stuff. But it just started skating more towards Lombardo and Charlie Benante as the more that we started, you know, working on the songs more. And Phil would be like, no, play double bass there. I'm like, really? Yeah. And the answer was always, John's not singing there. Play more. All right. And there was, you know, and it's funny because we're doing these behind the kit videos right now. So I'm doing playthroughs of all the songs down at Mike's studio and doing breakdowns of specific parts in the songs that I like, either like a cool beat or a fill or whatever. And as I'm going back and relearning these songs, like a lot of the stuff, like I was on fire in the studio. So the ideas were just coming like wildfire. But then going back and going, holy shit, now I got to relearn all this crap. And I'm like in the studio going, all right, Mike, play that back again. What the hell did I do there? Then this. All right, let me try it again. You know, so it's like, it's relearning these parts, and I'm going, holy shit, I played a lot of drums on this album.
Yeah, and that's gotta be exciting. That influx of creativity, though. That's gotta be
it really is, because they're like these songs are kicking my ass a little bit, and I'm like, damn, dude. And it's like, got to get my shit together here. I mean, tour's coming up in March, but like, I'm more so, I'd have plenty of time I'll be ready for the tour. But the point is, like I said, we're doing all these playthrough videos, so now it's like tracking the album almost again, because it's 2 or 3 takes in the studio until you get it, you know, perfect enough to put out to the world, let's say. So,
and now that you've got these 5 guys in this band that are so prolific and have such a deep background in doing this for so long, what's the creative process like when Category 7 gets together? Is somebody bringing them the lion's share of the ideas? Are you guys all collaborating on this material? Because you guys are all pretty fierce when it comes to the being prolific, creatively.
yeah, we did. I just want to flip back to the other point, the
Sure.
last thing that we were talking about, because I wanted to talk about the new Shadows Fall stuff that's coming out. Too.
Oh, okay.
So I recorded 5 of those songs about a couple months before I went in to do the Category 7 stuff. So basically, that summer last year was just like an intense creative. Like, it was like when I was done, I was drained. I'm like,
yeah.
Holy shit. Like, I felt like I worked out for like 3 months straight. So like every single day, like nonstop. I was like so happy when I was finished, but like creatively, I was like, I think I just put it all out there between both bands. Like, and trying to like not overlap my drum parts too, because I was writing for both bands at the same time, and I'd be like,
right,
why does this beat like sound familiar? Like, I was doing something in one of the Shadows Fall songs. I'm like, why is this beat sound like? Oh shit, this is the beat from Land I Used to Love. All right, I gotta switch this. I can't do this. And even though no one would have known that because they didn't know Category 7 yet, I knew it. And I'm like, that's like the cheating way out. I'm like, I just used that beat for a song, and you're gonna just use it. Come on, think of something else, So, but with some of that stuff, again, it was me and John being able to really lock in with each other with the writing, because we were both coming from places where, we had a lot to say, especially with just, Shadows Fall coming back. So, we're kind of like writing material like we were kids again, basically, like, fast. It's like almost like Steve Austin, faster, stronger, heavier,
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
We got a song coming out on December 6th. So that I'm pretty excited about that. We just shot a video for it last week.
And so the creative process with the Category 7 guys, what's that like?
Category 7. With this album, it happened all different ways. The first couple things were first song were ideas that Mike and Phil had sent back and forth to each other. Then they came up with something, sent it to me, and then I came up with some drum stuff, and then we hashed it out from there. The second song, they had half of it, and then when Phil came in to do the Wellmont show, him and Mike, when we were there rehearsing before we left for tour, one night Mike came in. I didn't even know about this. This is something I talk about too. There was one of our rehearsal nights where Mike came down to the hotel that me and Phil were staying at. I'm next door and have no clue that going on next door, Mike had come over and they had finished writing, I think, Apple of Discord. I think that was the song that they were working on. And then they had like almost another one written in the room. And I'm like, and Phil told me the next day, he's like, yeah, Mike came down last night. I go, where was I? He goes, I don't know, probably in your room sleeping or something. And I go, why didn't you at least tell me? I'm like,
creating is going on, for God's sake.
Like, creating's going on. I mean, not that I would have picked up sticks, but I mean, I could have at least been there and like, with a constructive ear. And then we started doing, we had a couple, through Pink Eyes, we wrote here at my place. Cause we had a couple days where Phil said, let's, after we had done the sending files back and forth, and then the next couple songs, once we got John locked into, and we knew where the writing style was going, Mike and Phil just kept coming up with idea after idea after idea, sending me stuff. I'd interject, and then start working on drums after we'd have a semi, decent arrangement. A lot of the stuff too, I wanted to have vocals before I was locked into any drum parts too, because the last thing I wanted to do was be stepping on anything that John was doing. But I also wanted to be able to accent things that he might say in the words too.
Right. But it certainly seems like, though, that this is one of those albums, and this is rare these days in music, though, where it really is. And I know everyone is looking to achieve this, but not many bands do. But this is really all killer and no filler, though. I mean, these are all fucking, it just slams all the way through the whole fucking album.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's rare nowadays, man. You know what I mean? Like, and I know a lot of it is people's attention span. You know what I mean? People don't want to sit down and listen to a fully realized album. They want to pick tracks, or they want EPs, or they want singles, or whatever, man. So it's very rare for an album, you know, of 10 or more songs to just kick ass all the way through.
Yeah, and but you know, just going back to what you were just saying too, it's really sad that people's attention spans at this point are that. It's like,
I know.
You know, hey, did you get the track 7? There's a track 7.
Yeah, it's almost an EP world nowadays. I've had that conversation with a lot of people, man. Like, people can't seem to, people can't seem to ingest like anything that's more than 20 or 30 minutes. You know, long gone are the days of a 70-minute Metallica album. You know,
no kidding, no kidding,
you know,
or a double
just
album. God forbid.
Yeah, and so what is you know, I'm so excited about the Category 7 stuff, but I don't want to you know, you also got great news and stuff is really starting to percolate over at the Shadows Fall camp too. So we haven't had a full Shadows Fall album since what, 2012?
Yeah, Fire from the Sky.
So for fans of Shadows Fall out there, when should we expect new Shadows Fall music? Will it be sometime 2025?
Well, like I said, we have one song that's dropping on December 6th this year.
Okay.
So what's that? Like, you know, like 3 weeks away, something like that.
That's exciting. Yep.
And we will definitely have a release next year. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but we definitely are putting something out next year.
What would you like it to be? Would you like it to be a fully realized LP, EP? What would you like it to be if you had your choice?
I'm old school, so I'd like to say I would love it for it to be an album, but again, and I don't want my manager to get mad at me either for me talking out of turn.
What's he promising people an album on there? For God's sake.
I mean, we really don't know what we're going to put out yet, because we're in talks with the label about it. We've talked about 5 songs. We've talked about a full length. It's going to be one or the other. We're not sure yet. If it was to be full, my guess is it wouldn't be until later this year, because we don't have 10 songs yet. We only have about 8.
Right. Give them some time, folks. Give them some time.
But my point is, I'm sure that a 5-song release is definitely feasible, because those are almost completely finished right now. We're just waiting for a little bit of vocal, but we've had a lot of. What people need to understand and remember too, because I've already seen some kind of comments, and you know, I know, don't read the comments and shit like that, but like when people make stupid comments like, oh, they're only releasing 1 song, they got back together 2 years ago.
I know.
Yeah, but we're not a full-time band like we used to be that rehearses 3 times a week and has tours and stuff. We see each other once a month if we're lucky, or like a couple times a month, or when we got a show, or we live all over. Thankfully, the musicians live within 90 miles of each other. Like, that's the fortunate point. Brian is the only one who lives away from us. So we can still rehearse weekly as a band, which we do. But the point is, if we have one guy who's working a full-time job and he's got a family and kids and his dad just died, give him a break on if we can't get the lyrics done this week. Right. You know, it's,
I mean, real life is happening too. People have real life
is happening. That's the thing. And we have 2 guys that have families, and we have 2 guys that have been parts of major touring bands for the last 10 years. Like, John's still in Anthrax, people. He has commitments coming up already for next year. That's why things take longer with us too. Even if we have a full length done, if this record was done and ready to go right now, and let's say they said, all right, the record's ready to go, we're going to release it in May, we would go, nope, we're not doing that. We're going to wait and release it in October. Why? Because John leaves with Anthrax in July. What's the point of releasing a record? You got to be able to, because when we do it, and that's the thing people keep asking us too, when you're going to tour, when we have a product. So we want to tour for it once we have the ability to do that, which is
makes
why
makes no sense to put an album out and then let John go and do like a huge tour with Anthrax and then tour for a Shadows Fall album a year after it's been out. You know, it's
the only way it would make sense is if they were gracious enough to give us a direct support slot. If we had direct support to Anthrax, that would be doable, and that would still be all right. Cool, we'll do that. Not a problem. Not a problem.
And so, I think one of the things that arises sometimes, and I want to throw this out there, is when you have a band like Category 7, you've obviously got guys in there like Jack, who's in Anthrax, like Mike, who does Adrenaline Mob or whatever. Is everybody rowing in the same direction and viewing this as the same type of project, though? Like, where does this lie as a priority for the guys? Because I think a lot of times people see guys from other bands start another band and they start to think, is this thing going to dissolve? How much material are we going to get from these guys? You know what I mean? Are they all invested like the same? Is this something that's going to fall apart in a couple of years and these guys go back to their collective bands? So like, what is the priority level for Category 7 for everybody involved?
For me, my priority level is between Category 7 and Shadows Fall, because I say that because right now our schedules are pretty open between both bands, where nothing's overlapping, nothing's intersecting. Like I said, I know what the future holds with John's availability, and I know what we're trying to do with Category 7 too. So that's all well and good. Jack's a business owner in Exodus, but he's all in. He said he's all in. Mike and I know are all in. Yeah. Mike and I left bands to do this. Mike and I left bands to be available to do this. And I'm not saying that I want the other guys to do that. Our situations are totally different. I'm just saying that we're all in from that perspective. And John says he is too. But
we're still not doing Machine Head anymore, and the violence thing, he ended up kind of peeling away from that too. So kind of looks like this could be a priority for him.
But Kerry King puts a little bit of a wrench in the works.
A little bit. That's a priority, I guess, when Kerry King comes calling.
Yep.
But but you definitely see this band though, continuing on for multiple albums and continuing to work together.
I hope so. I know our contract says we have at least one more, so I hope there's more after that.
Yeah. And so how do you feel right now at this stage in your life? Because you've been doing this for so long. I've talked to so many drummers on here that have done this for years and years and years. How are you holding up? Because the drumming is a very physical thing. I've talked to guys on here, who have to make little improvisations. Maybe they change the setup or they higher or lower the stool or whatever. How are you holding up? Because it is a physically demanding part of the band.
I'm in a constant state of that, always examining my playing. How can I make it a little easier? Checking out the pedal. Is there something else I can do? Can I tighten it? Can I loosen it? What about this? What if I do this? Look, we said it. We're in our 50s. This shit hurts. Every time you take a stick and go like this, that shit fucking hurts.
Sure.
It just does. It just does. But
at least you're honest about it, though. Yeah,
it's a good pain. I'm going to tell you, I've played most of my career in fucking pain. I have. I have. In some way, shape, or form. I mean, there's good days and bad days. It's just like an athlete. That's why I wear the compression sleeves and shit. I've had tennis elbow. I've got herniated discs in my neck. I've got one in my low back. I've got a fucking bone spur in my big toe in my right foot. Oh, I don't use that too much.
Right.
It's like every year there's something else. I'm like, oh, the shoulder's hurting now. Well, that's new. So
just my shoulder, my back, and my toe. 3 of the most important parts of drumming.
Right. So then there is modifications in the kit. The left china comes lower. Maybe it comes, closer to the high. Whatever. There are those things to think about. But I try to really take good care of myself. If I play drums between band practices and my own, I play 4 times a week. I go to the gym twice a week and and I don't work out with real heavy weights anymore, but I still lift weights twice a week. I do a full body workout that hopefully can help my drumming. It's not anymore more so for, trying to be buff or anything like that. It's anything that I look at this as being an athlete. And if I'm still 50, I'm going to be fucking 55 in January. And if I can still play 200 BPM double bass with my legs and not faking it, and I'm not talking about anybody, and I know that 200 doesn't seem like very fast anymore. But all you kids that are playing 300 BPMs at 22 years old, let's see what you're doing at 55.
Amen. Yeah, amen to that. Yeah.
I really hope they're still doing it. I hope 55, 30 years from now, they're going, fuck you, Bittner, you crotchety old man. But I'm just saying, like, when I see these guys and like these techniques and the way they're holding the stick and the swivel technique with the knees, and I go, God damn, that's like just regular drumming is wear and tear on your joints. But all these other little fancy maneuvers, I'm like, it just makes me think that now, like later on down the road, I hope these kids don't have like fucking serious problems.
Yeah. Now it seems like a lot of the material on the Category 7 album, obviously you can tell by looking at song titles in the material, a lot of it is obviously inspired by the current, state of the world. Obviously, it seems like there's a lot of, political undertones, in the music. What's the creative, the impetus for writing these songs? Who's doing most of the lyric writing?
John Bush is doing all of the lyric writing, and you can find out all that information if you go and watch the Behind the Words with John Bush on YouTube.
Okay. So he will break down all the Category 7 songs.
Yeah, we're doing this series. We're doing Behind the Words, Behind the Guitar, and Behind the Kit. And we've released, I think, 2 of John's so far. They're on our YouTube channel. They're on the Metal Blade YouTube channel. And
he's obviously puts like a political slant on a lot of the songs and a lot of the
he reads a lot of newspapers. He loves reading the paper, and he says that's where he gets a lot of his inspiration, from the things that he reads in the paper.
So what would you say, like the current single or at least the newest video that's out that I'm seeing all over social media right now, Land I Used to Love. In your, because we are in an election year. There is a lot going on politically, man. What is the message in that song that the band is trying to convey? Land I Used to Love.
I can't answer that one honestly, because I didn't write the lyrics.
What do you think he's saying? That the country's not what it once was?
I'm just gonna go out on a limb and just say that my friend JB feels disillusioned. Let's say that.
Okay, fair enough. And he's obviously somebody that keeps an eye on like things that are going on. You would call him like a newsie. He's reading newspapers. He's watching the news.
He's educated.
He's very much keeping an eye on the state of affairs in the world.
Yeah, he's not, he's not writing lyrics about stupid things. You know what I mean?
Right. You're not going to hear wizards and fairies and this kind of stuff.
Oh, that's fine. Wizards and fairies are fine.
But you're probably not going to get that from John Bush, though. And you know what, man? I'll tell you what, man. He's been doing this a long time. Obviously, people will know him from his stint in Anthrax, of course, Armored Saint. He still sounds fucking amazing. Amazing.
He's awesome.
Yeah, amazing. Everybody in the band sounds amazing. Is there anyone, in this band, like you said, all the first choices all said yes or whatever. Is there anybody that you were worried about? Geez, maybe we won't be able to get this person in the band, but we really would like him in the band. Was there anybody? Because it seems like everybody jumped on board pretty quickly.
Yeah, John.
John. Right. So that was the linchpin. That was the one you were kind of worried about.
Yeah, because I don't want to go any farther with this, but if we had to start going down the wish list, we're getting involved more so with. We also, there's a lot of factors in this. We wanted someone that we knew we love his voice and we love as a person, but also would want to make a commitment to do this with us too. Once we started going farther down the list, we might not have gotten commitments out of people that we were looking at. And we were looking at something that, look, we want to play shows. We want to do something with this. We said that from the beginning. Once we said we were going to agree to be a band, like, let's be a band then. We know it might be hard. Like, this first tour might fucking be really hard. It might be. We might be playing in front of 50 people a night, but we don't know unless we get out and try. That's the only thing that we can do. If we just sit here and go, well, maybe just the perfect tour will just fall into our laps. No, that's not the way this business works.
Yeah. So when will when does the tour kick off? In March, you said?
Yeah.
And how
because
extensive
of other guys' touring commitments. We were supposed to be out literally in November, but it just didn't work out.
And now, how extensive of a tour are we looking at? And for you guys right now, man, what's a comfortable amount of time to go out?
Right now, we're starting with 3 weeks. We're going to start with 3 weeks. And we're doing one leg. The idea is we're doing one leg in March, and then hopefully we will be doing another leg after the Sonic Temple Festival, which we have in May.
Okay. And you know, so this album just comes out because, as I mentioned, you guys are all so creative and so prolific at creating. How soon do you think about already firing up and writing new music? Do you know if anybody is already creating and already thinking about stuff for another Category 7 project? I mean, I know this one just came out, but
knowing Mike, he's probably got half of it written already.
Another half an album done.
But I don't. He's like a machine with writing songs. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's like I watch him come up with shit, and I'm just like, you just pull that out of your ass just like that. I'm like,
I absolutely agree, man. Watching the footage and watching like the videos and stuff, man, he really is like the secret weapon and the unsung hero of that band. Because you expect that out of all you other guys, all have like a legendary track record. I feel like Mike, as great as Adrenaline Mob is, I feel like he's the wild card and the lesser known of all the guys, but he's a force. He's a force.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. He really is a force. And so
I would say, you know, I want to go out on a limb and say I hope it's not too soon to start writing new material, because that would mean that we're going to get touring opportunities and be able to tour a little bit on this record before we have to go do the next one. I would hope that we'd have at least an opportunity to maybe spread the word a little bit before we're all right. Well, that's it. I guess we'll go back and write the Rexx record in. You know, I really would like to get the live show happening before we're back in the boat again.
I want to ask you a couple subjective questions, because you've been in so many great bands and you've been out there doing this thing for so long, and you know, almost achieved. You know, you guys have all achieved a legendary status. You know, as individual players. But has there been anybody in your travels that you've gotten the chance to meet that's a hero to you, where you've said, "Oh my God, I can't believe I'm about to meet this guy," or "I can't believe I just met this guy"? Have there been those moments for you? Oh, okay, Neil. Okay. So you got a chance to meet him, and what was the experience like? How did you meet him?
I was friends with him for 12 years before he passed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you got to meet him and forge a friendship with him.
Yeah, which I know this is going to sound really weird, but out of everything I've done in my career, my crowning moment was being friends with my hero. I'm tearing up just now just thinking about him, because
I imagine.
I love Neil Peart that much.
Yeah.
As drummer, as you know, Rush being my favorite band, from becoming friends with him and then knowing him as a person and knowing what, you know, the person he really was. And it was one of the biggest honors of my life. And just I miss him tremendously, and I'm glad that I'm able to be a part of the Bubba Bash that happens every January in Pennsylvania. That's basically thrown by one of the best Rush tribute bands in the States, and his best friend and security guard, Michael Mosbach.
Yeah, and how cool is it to end up with a friendship with your hero too? You know what I mean? That doesn't happen for a lot of people.
Absolutely, know? And there's the other guy that is toe to toe with that is Nico McBrain, and I just saw him 2 days, like last week. We went to see Maiden. They're my all-time favorite heavy metal band. We became friends when we toured together way back on the Ozfest in 2005. I've been friends with him for 2 decades now. We used to have a place in Florida, and we would go to the restaurant all the time. So I've been with Nico a lot out of the Maiden environment as well. Yep. And he's still one of those guys that every time, like if he calls or texts, I'm just like, I'm like getting a 13-year-old again. I'm like, oh, Nico. You know, so and that's a big deal for me. And like every time I see him, like I just, you know, and then every time I see him, it's always the next day is like the 6 to 10 heartfelt texts back and forth between the two of us. I'm like, I love you, man. I can't still can't believe friends, and I can't believe you give me tickets every time I bought a hoodie. I just want you to know I still buy merch, and it's like, all right, shut up now, fanboy. You know.
Well, that's actually great though, because you do always hear throughout the years, though, sometimes people tell you to beware of meeting your heroes. It doesn't often go well, you know.
Yeah, and it doesn't. But out of all of mine, I've met pretty much all of them that are alive.
Yeah.
Sadly, I didn't meet Ginger Baker before he died, but I knew he was a prick, so I wouldn't have been.
Yeah,
I would want him to be a dick to me.
Yeah.
And obviously, I never got a chance to meet John Bonham, but I'm friends with Jason, so that's close enough for me. It's still the bloodline. And Alex Van Halen, he's the only one that still I haven't met. And I'm still pissed off that I just didn't get in the car and drive to Jersey like 2 weeks ago when he was doing.
Yeah, he just did a book signing because I just had Danny Schuler from Biohazard on, and Danny Schuler went.
No, I saw Danny's picture the next day, and I called him. I'm like, God damn it,
yeah,
should have went.
Yeah, and when I had him on the podcast, he couldn't stop talking about that moment. He got a great picture with him, and you know, and Alex sounds like a great guy because Alex gave everybody like a little bit of interaction that night too, so that you know that's a cool moment too. But yeah, I saw Danny put up a great picture with himself and with his kids, and so I also want to ask too, out of all the concerts that you've seen from a fan standpoint, is there one that sticks out in your mind?
One?
Obviously, but well, even a couple. Throw me out a couple. But obviously, you've probably seen some great shows in your life.
There's been some major ones in my life. Let's list some just major ones based on either band or time period, because that's a lot of it too.
Yeah.
Some kids won't understand, but you'll fucking understand when I tell you 1991 Madison Square Garden Clash of the Titans.
Yeah, that's big. That's a big one. That's big.
For you youngins that don't know Clash of the Titans, Slayer, Megadeth, Anthrax, Alice in Chains.
Alice in Chains. Yep.
Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
That night, Anthrax headline because they did a rotating triple headliner each time with Chains opener. I went to 4 shows on that tour because that's right when I became friends with Dave. So he gave me a laminate and basically like, any show you can go to, bro. And I'm like, awesome. So I went to 4 of the Clash of the Titans shows. So there's actually, I was just telling Ricky Rackman about this on the Headbangers boat last year. I go, dude, I have a videotape at home of Headbangers Ball when they were at Clash of the Titans, and Ricky interviewing Megadeth, and he walks right by Megadeth, and I'm standing right there against the Anthrax dressing room with my friend, and he's like, "No way!" I'm like, "Yes way."
First of all, there might be kids right now going and Google what the hell a videotape even is, but
yeah, exactly. Google backstage Clash of the Titans. I don't know, and then when we would when out in the last Overkill South American tour, we had Dave Ellison filling in playing bass, and I was telling him that story, and I was like, by the way, dude, what the fuck was up with the bathrobes? He was like, that was my idea. I'm like, you guys like fucking total rock stars with the bathrobes.
Yeah.
So, all right, so big concerts, 1983 Peace of Mind tour, because that's the first time I saw Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
That was a big deal. That was Iron Maiden, Fastway, and Coney Hatch. 1984, August 1984, my first time I saw Rush, Grace Under Pressure tour. Clash of the Titans, that's another big one. Pantera, Sepultura, Biohazard, Pantera headlining on Far Beyond Driven.
Well, that's a monster. That's a monster lineup.
Sepultura on KSAD, Biohazard on State of the World Address in Arena. That was fucking sick.
Yeah.
Rush farewell tour, sadly, in Toronto. Any of the times I saw that. And every day that I opened the stage at Ozfest 2005 for Iron Maiden and Black Sabbath, the real Black Sabbath.
Blows your mind. The real Black Sabbath.
Yeah, the real Black Sabbath. The 4 guys that mattered.
Yeah. And let me also ask you this, because I've been hitting people up with this one a lot, and I think I think you'll have a definitive answer. I don't think you'll be one of those guys who, like a lot of guests on here, mull this around a little bit. But if I'm taking Jason Bittner and I'm dropping him on a desert island and he can only take one album with him, what's the desert island album?
Exit Stage Left by Rush.
See, I knew you wouldn't even think about it. I knew you'd have a definitive. You're a New Yorker by heart. We're definitive about shit.
We don't by location too.
Yeah.
Trust me, I'm freezing my ass off today. Wasn't it summer last week?
I know, you're not kidding, man. Like, whereabouts in New York are you right now?
I'm upstate, outside of Albany.
Yeah, I'm near Syracuse. Yeah, it's getting cold.
Yeah,
it's getting cold.
I think we talked about this before. Yeah. We have the same weather.
I'm using my car starter in the morning, so I know it's wintertime, man, when I'm starting the car up while I'm sitting in here waiting for it to get warm when I'm going to work in the morning. Once the car starter starts, it's all downhill.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just can't and you know it's coming, you know what I mean? So, like, you know that the days are coming when you're going to be up to your hips in snow. You don't know when, but you know it's inevitable.
Here's a good concert. See, this is going to make me go through the Rolodex. I'll be thinking about this for the rest of the night. Go, so why did you mention that one? Guns N' Roses and Aerosmith, but Guns N' Roses on Appetite when they were drunk and high and messed up and fucking amazing.
Just like you said about Black Sabbath, the real Guns N' Roses lineup, the Appetite era. Guns N' Roses.
That was great. I saw Metallica with Cliff open for Ozzy.
Oh, that's a legendary concert. That's legendary.
That's a legendary one right there.
Yeah. I'm actually getting ready to go see Metallica next year here in Syracuse at the Carrier Dome, and I'm taking my son in our town. The lineup is Metallica, Suicidal Tendencies, and Pantera. So that's a good lineup.
I'll be at that show because I have this. I have Category 7 for some reason. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
James Hetfield really likes. So we have this kinship with Metallica already. Like, Mike and Phil went to go see them over the summer. I couldn't go because I was over in Portugal playing my last show with Overkill. But they're like, any shows you guys can come to, you're more than welcome to. So I'm probably down. I would probably go into the Carrier Dome anyways through Charlie just to go see Pantera. But I'll probably be at that show because that might be my day to see and hang out with Lars a little bit.
And I'm psyched about it, man. And I'm psyched about it only just because I get to take my son, and he's never been to a concert, I don't think. He's been to some big ones, certainly some arena shows, but I don't think anything to that magnitude. Like, I mean, we're talking like 50,000 plus people packed into the Carrier Dome. You know, I mean, it's going to be a big one.
Those shows are huge. I was still on Overkill last summer. We did the Jersey one with him outside MetLife Stadium. We played outside the parking lot. But inside the stadium, the show was... The spectacle of the show inside the stadium as we were watching it being set up, we're like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's a massive, it's a massive production. And I saw Pantera when Dime and Vinny were still alive. Haven't seen this version of them yet, man. But I love the guys that they got to do the music justice, though. Like, I think there's no really replacing the Abbott brothers, but getting Charlie and Zach, though, really seems like a nice natural fit. You know what I mean? They were definitely part of that Pantera inner circle, that brotherhood.
They certainly were, and and to all the haters, they would definitely both be Abbott brother approved, trust me.
Without a doubt. Yeah, without a doubt. And I've never seen Suicidal Tendencies live, and they're literally one of my top 3 favorite bands of all time. And I hear that this lineup that they currently have with Robert Trujillo's son and Jay Weinberg playing drums, it's really a kick-ass lineup.
Cool.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it yet. The last time I saw Suicidal, Grayson was still playing drums.
Well, I think here in the next couple weeks, I'm going to have Dean from Suicidal on. I've been talking back and forth with him, so that'll be a big deal for me, man. I just love that band. But so I'm looking forward to that concert. Fucking so you'll probably be at that one too, then. I'm
thinking.
Yeah. Well, that's good, man.
Hopefully.
Yeah, first of all, I got to say, man, I had you on last year, and you're always a great interview, man, but you certainly seem like this time around, you really have a lot more zest and vigor right now. You know what I mean? Like, you really seem like you're in a good place and extremely happy. Not that last year's interview was not fucking great, man, but, like, you've really got an exuberance about you, man. Like, I'm glad that things are going so well, man. This album is fucking awesome. And, hey, I might smell a Metallica tour coming. If they love Category 7 that much, it might be you the next time.
We'll take just a couple of those shows outside in the parking lot. That'd be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but I'm super happy, man. And I've been going around telling everybody, man, this is such a great album, man. And I wish you guys a lot of luck with it, man. I hope when you guys tour in March, it swings through upstate New York or somewhere in my vicinity, man. I'd love to come and see you guys, man.
Yeah, sadly, we're not coming anywhere near this area yet.
Right. You will. Eventually you will.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the closest things to us are like probably like Starland Ballroom, and we're playing Philly and Pittsburgh.
Yeah, which of course, you know, as a New Yorker, anytime I tell somebody that I'm from New York, people don't even fathom the idea that there's an upstate. It's instantly, what borough are you from? How close to Madison Square Garden are you? Are you near the Empire State Building?
Yeah, but
I'm like 4.5 hours from there.
What's even funnier though is they don't grasp the concept. Like if you went from New York City to Buffalo, it's going to take 10 hours. Bro.
Yes,
it's a big state.
Yeah,
it's a big state, and every time people call me too, I'm in New York, man. That's good. I'm 3 hours away in Albany.
Can't
come to the show tonight. It's not happening.
I'm sorry. I'm nowhere near Manhattan. I'm nowhere in the vicinity of Manhattan.
The other thing too is when you say I'm from upstate, and they go, "Oh, White Plains."
Yeah.
No. Oh, Poughkeepsie.
Little further down the road. Keep on going down that New York State Thruway a couple hundred more miles. But listen, Jason, as always, man, I love having you on. Thanks so much for making the time, man. I love this album, man. Congratulations, man. And I will stay in touch, and we'll do it again soon, brother.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much.
Always love talking to you, my man. Thanks, Jason.
All right. Take care.
Later, brother.
Bye-bye.
There he goes, folks. The legendary, because that's all I deal with, legends. Being the son of Diamond David Lee Roth Jr., that makes me, by de facto, a fucking legend. The son of rock royalty. And after a long interview like that, let me make sure that I'm living up to the billing. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And, of course, you know how I make that happen, kids. Right there. I didn't get to get my plug in beforehand. Get it? Love it? Use it. You won't look this damn good because that is impossible. Out of the question. But you will probably look pretty good. You don't have the Roth genes like I do. So, as I always say, don't hate, congratulate. I am the offspring of rock royalty. You are not. You can use Aquanet and look good. I will use Aquanet and look godly. But I don't mean to brag. That is the great Jason Bittner. You know him from bands like Flotsam and Jetsam, from his stint in Overkill, of course, as a founding longtime member of the amazing Shadows Fall, and now doing a Category 7. For those of you who don't know out there, this is, for lack of a better word, and I know we started out the interview saying we don't really like the term, but this is a fucking super group. Other than Jason Bittner on drums, you've got the great bassist Jack Gibson, of Exodus fame, the great Mike Orlando from Adrenaline Mob, the great Phil Demmel from Violence, Machine Head, and of course the great John Bush, vocalist for Armored Saint, a stint with Anthrax. So this is a powerhouse band. Certainly elements of thrash, but this is just a good fucking heavy ass fucking rock and roll band, man. They're not reinventing the wheel here. This is just veteran rockers just fucking laying down a kick-ass, all killer, no filler from start to fucking finish, a fucking face melting album. And that's it, man. Straight and simple, man. Good old fucking fast, heavy, nasty, riffy fucking rock and roll, man. If you don't check out this album, you are getting your rock/metal card pulled. And I've got the power to do it. I've been deputized. So go out and check out Category 7. The album is self-titled Category 7. You will not be disappointed. This album is making a lot of buzz. It's the talk of a lot of fucking music publications and websites, man. It's garnered a lot of high praise and a lot of buzz, and deservedly so. Other than the amazing list of players, the music fucking speaks for itself. It fucking, what would you expect from these 5 guys but amazing music? And you fucking get it. These guys deliver. They know how to deliver. And the guy keeping the fucking beat back there, Jason Bittner, is a fucking bona fide fucking metal fucking drumming legend. So go check out Category 7. Do yourself a favor. Rex Ruger approved. I can't approve it enough. So thank you so much to Jason Bittner. Always a great guest, a fellow New Yorker. We know how to get down and chop it up, man. And of course, you know, this is where the cool kids come to chop it up with your boy Rexx Ruger anyway. And of course, my big tooth fucking sidekick back there, the Freddie Mercury puppet. So make sure to stay tapped in, like and follow Pod Scum on Facebook. That's a direct order. You got to have a Facebook nowadays, folks. You got to play the game. This is the promotional part of the episode. Like and follow us on Facebook. Reach out to us. Very receptive. Let me know what you like, what you don't like, who you'd like to see me get, who you'd like to never see on here ever again. I might not listen to that request, but you know, I'm open to feedback. Let's just say that. And also make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell on this channel, of course, to stay tapped in to the best conversations anywhere on the goddamn planet. That being said, man, let me end this by saying what I always say, and that is take it easy and keep it sleazy.